On my way down the mountain after visiting my grandfather's grave, a white fox blocked my path and spoke to me in human language. "Do I look like your husband?" Before I could answer, my grandfather, holding the iPhone 100 I had just burned as an offering, hurled it at the fox. "Hey, you ugly fox, dare to covet my gorgeous, heavenly beautiful granddaughter. Today, I'll teach you what's called knowing your place." I was sitting on my little electric scooter at the foot of a desolate mountain, staring at my furious grandfather and a fox with a face that clearly said, "You're not going anywhere until you answer me today." For the first time, I felt the absurdity of life. The white fox sat upright, winking at me as if his eyes were twitching uncontrollably. My grandfather couldn't take it anymore and smacked him on the forehead with an iPhone 100. "What's wrong with your eyes? Stop scaring my precious granddaughter." Within 5 minutes, Grandpa must have hit the white fox at least 17 or 18 times. The white fox finally couldn't take it anymore and slammed the table as it stood up. "Old man Smith, don't go too far. Didn't I see your granddaughter wishing for a handsome, caring, and wealthy boyfriend? It just so happens I've been single all these years, and I can fulfill her wish. What's your problem with that?" My grandpa spat fiercely. "George, you shameless bastard. How old are you? 800 years old at least. Your skin's so old it's wrinkling, and you have the nerve to lust after my granddaughter who's only 25. The white fox named George, furious and humiliated, argued vehemently with my grandfather, straining his neck. "What nonsense are you spouting? 800 is the prime of youth for us foxes. Don't go slandering me, or I'll set your beard on fire." The man and the fox looked like they were about to come to blows any second. I stood there dumbfounded, then turned my head to see a pure white snake with sapphire-like eyes and an adorable hedgehog snickering together nearby. Life instantly became even more surreal. Before I could process what was happening, George swiftly turned his fox head towards me and gave me a wink that looked like his eyes were spasming. "My human form is absolutely stunning. That 2D character you like isn't even 1/10 as beautiful as me. Really not considering it, really not." Being single is about to be a thing of the past. After a long silence, a tiny paw suddenly poked my arm, prompting me to hold out my hand. The next second, a handful of spiced sunflower seeds appeared in my palm. I popped a sunflower seed into my mouth, and in a sudden brain fart, I thought of that rich second-generation guy who had been chasing me for 3 months. So I asked him, "Do you own a house, a car? What's your monthly salary? Can we legally register our marriage? Will there be reproductive isolation if we have kids? Would a half-human, half-demon child get bullied?" My grandfather is the most famous shaman in these parts, with over 400 immortals enshrined in his temple. The leaders among them are Hank, Leo, and White, 3 great immortals with profound cultivation and deep ties to our family. Hank handles marriage blessings, Leo answers inquiries, and White treats illnesses. However, after my grandfather passed away, no one could inherit his legacy. The elders in the family all said I was the most promising person of this generation to open a spiritual hall, but I didn't want that. I just wanted to be a homebody with a sweet, handsome boyfriend. So when these 3 great immortals appeared before me, my first thought was, holy crap, is my happy life about to end? Immortal Leo could tell what I was thinking. He swished over and comforted me by nuzzling his head against me. "Don't worry, we've all given up immortality. You should really consider this fox. He's hopelessly romantic, absolutely devoted, and guarantees a 100% love experience." Sounds like they're trying to sell some unsellable product. George nodded frantically beside them. "Exactly. Don't you humans all love dating hopeless romantics? No one is more devoted than us fox spirits. One wife for life, never unfaithful, and absolutely obedient to our partners." I bit into a melon seed and returned to the initial question. "Do you own a house, a car? What's your monthly salary? Can we register for marriage? Will there be reproductive isolation if we have children? Will a half-human, half-demon child be bullied?" George never expected this topic to be unavoidable. After a long silence, he was utterly heartbroken. "Shallow humans, but I can go earn money. What kind of house do you like? Seeing you burn a mansion for this old man. Do you like this? Wait for me. I'll buy it for you tomorrow." Leo rolled his eyes beside them. "How do you plan to make money?" "By being a male model," George said righteously. "How could I do something so unbecoming of a man?" Then he looked at me. "Darling, there's no reproductive barrier. Half human, half-demon kids are really cute, they won't get bullied at school, and they can punch through half a school building with one fist. Don't you like furries? No time like the present, take me home right now, darling. In the end, I went home with a fox in my arms, a hedgehog in my pocket, a white snake around my neck, looking utterly defeated. As I walked downstairs, the landlady asked me why I was wearing a scarf in the middle of summer. I forced an awkward smile. Auntie, this is a bionic scarf, it's actually cooling. I have no idea whether she bought my nonsense, but right after saying that, I dashed upstairs with the 3 burdens in tow and headed home. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and after some planning, I decided to let the 3 of them stay in the study. George obediently crouched on the ground, raising his head with dark, bright eyes, gazing at me while radiating charm. Honey, could you buy me some clothes? Height 188 centimeters, measurements. After listening expressionlessly to his flawless measurements, I coldly replied, no, I think it's better for you to remain a fox. George looked deeply hurt, trying to sweet-talk me while also tempting me with benefits. Honey, how could you do this? A fox dresses up for those who appreciate them. I just wanted to show you my beauty. Besides, if I turn human, I can help you with laundry, cooking, and cleaning. When he mentioned laundry, cooking, and cleaning, I admit, my heart wavered. All he wanted was a set of clothes. It wasn't like he was asking for the moon. What harm could it do to give it to him? George's human form was indeed beautiful, so exquisite that not even a living person, let alone a 2D character, could match such perfection. With a slender waist, broad shoulders, and long legs, he had the standard proportions of a model, ape-like arms, a wasp-like waist, and mantis-like legs. His high nose bridge, fox-like eyes, and perfectly balanced lips only added to his allure, and those eyes, so clear and obedient, when he looked at me, they were filled with nothing but, damn, who could resist this? But I was a woman of unwavering resolve. Wiping the drool from the corner of my mouth, I coldly tossed him a pink-made apron. From now on, this will be your work uniform. If you don't clean properly, you won't get any food. Hearing such a blatantly capitalist line from the streetlight, George actually looked as happy as a silly roe deer. I couldn't bear to watch. He held a broom, sweeping while chatting with me. After rambling on for a while, he suddenly asked, is there a rich second-generation heir who's been chasing after you? I was taken aback for a moment and was about to ask how he knew, but then it occurred to me, among the 4 living beings in this household, I was the only non-immortal. It would be strange if they didn't know, so I nodded. Yeah, what about it? Does he affect my financial luck? George scratched his face and let out a thoughtful, it definitely has an impact. Mainly because this guy is no good, but since you're not planning to agree to him anyway, leave the rest to me. I was full of questions. If I wasn't planning to agree to that man, what was George taking care of for me? Leo the Immortal swished over and rested his head on my knee. He's afraid of scaring you, but I must warn you, Wendy, he's on his way to see you and should be arriving soon. You might want to go and deadbolt the security door first. White Fairy, holding a watermelon, raised his hand at the right moment. I've already locked it, don't worry. Only I was still completely in the dark. I picked up my phone and glanced at it, just in time to see a message from Lucas. I'm downstairs at your place, want to grab a meal together. I'm a bit annoyed and replied, not going. Lucas has excellent conditions. He's a second-generation rich kid with a family fortune in the hundreds of millions. He pursued me for 3 months straight. And there's no doubt he's a handsome guy with a great figure, but I always felt there was something really off about him. Being near him gives me headaches, nausea, and overall discomfort, so I've been steadfast in rejecting him. No matter how many times he asked me out, I never agreed. Leo the fox spirit leaned over to glance at the screen and stuck out his tongue. This man has severe antisocial tendencies and an extreme hatred towards women. If you hadn't gone to visit your grandfather's grave yesterday, you wouldn't have seen today's sun. I found it somewhat unbelievable as I listened, gripping my phone while asking Leo Cien in confusion, are you saying he wanted to kill me just because I rejected his advances? Leo Cien tilted his head in thought, but just as he was about to speak, he suddenly turned to look at the front door. George threw down the broom, dashed over in a flash, rolled up his sleeves, and started cursing. You little bastard, trying to make me a widow. Today, I'll make sure you die at the ripe old age of 28. White Immortal sighed helplessly, put down the watermelon, and tugged at his sleeve. Don't cause trouble for Wendy, just call the police. Once he's in, he'll never get out anyway. Leo noticed my confused expression and leaned in to tap my forehead. Go check through the peephole. I walked over and looked through the peephole, where Lucas's face came into clear view. The unusual part was that I could distinctly see him holding a massive bouquet of roses behind his back, and behind the bouquet of roses, there was also a freshly sharpened, razor-edged knife hidden. My heart instantly filled with terror, and I instinctively took 2 steps back, directly retreating into George's arms. George held me with one arm while gripping my phone in the other hand. Don't be afraid. Call the police now. Once he's locked up, I promise you'll never see him again in your life. George's voice was incredibly soothing, and hearing it inexplicably gave me an added sense of security. Lucas pressed the doorbell, and his voice came through the video intercom. Wendy, I'm here to take you out for dinner. Didn't you post on social media last time saying you wanted to try Cantonese cuisine? I specially hired a Cantonese chef who used to work at state banquets. His roast goose is legendary. Isn't that your favorite dish? Hearing this, cold sweat broke out on my back. I had never told Lucas what my Weibo account was, and no one around me knew about it either. I hadn't posted any photos, only scattered bits of text. How did he manage to find me just by knowing my province's IP? Lucas was still incessantly ringing the doorbell. Wendy, I know you're inside. Open the door. Let's go eat together. You don't have to agree to anything right now. Can't I just have a meal with you? Leo Sien had somehow climbed onto my neck without me noticing. I remember you kept your address well protected. He must have followed you to get it, right? If Leo's earlier claim that he would kill me left me half in doubt, now I'm completely convinced. Seeing that I remained silent, Lucas noticeably increased the frequency of his doorbell ringing, to the point where it became almost frantic. The gentleness from before was gone, replaced by a tone that sounded like a demon come to claim a life. Wendy, open the door. After all I've done for you, waiting for you from 8 in the morning till 6 at night every day, sending you flowers, gifts, breakfast. Won't you even see me once? Wendy, I'm telling you, I'll give you 3 more minutes. If you don't open the door, I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life. Wendy, please open the door. It's been a week since I last saw you. I really miss you. Wendy, just let me see you. It's okay if you don't want to go out to eat with me. Just let me see you once. Outside the door, Lucas seemed mentally unstable, alternating between insults and threats, then pleas and confessions. My back was drenched in cold sweat as I listened, my hands trembling as I grabbed my phone to call the police. Just as my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even press the numbers, George reached over from behind, holding my hand to help me dial the emergency number, whispering reassuringly in my ear, "Don't be afraid, he can't get in. Even if he does, he won't be able to hurt you. I'm incredibly strong. One punch from me could send him reincarnating 1,000 times over. I've got connections down below too. I'll make sure his next life is as a maggot in a latrine." George's words left me torn between laughter and tears, but they did stop me from trembling with fear. The frantic ringing no longer sounded as piercing or terrifying to my ears. White Fairy nodded beside me. That's right, I'm venomous. I'm a snake. I'll bite and vanish before anyone can catch me. White Immortal affinity, yes, and without bearing any karma. It's truly a good thing. The once unfamiliar and repulsive immortals now finally came to life before me, making me recall what Grandpa had told me before his passing. Wendy. The immortals are our friends. They will help me, help you, and also protect you on Grandpa's behalf. I dialed the emergency number and stepped back a bit, making sure Lucas outside couldn't hear me, then quickly recounted the situation, except I lied, saying I saw the knife in his hand through the reflection. Soon, the police arrived. When Lucas heard the sirens downstairs, he furiously kicked my door. "Bitch, how dare you call the cops? Bitch, just wait till I get out. I'll kill you." George kicked back with a loud bang, his voice full of malice, still trying to come out. "Just wait for your next life, you idiot. If you dare show your face, your fox grandpa here will make sure you beg for death but can't even die." After subduing Lucas, the police knocked on my door. Outside stood a young officer who froze for a moment upon seeing George, probably never expecting a carbon-based life form to look like that. "Good thing your boyfriend was with you. that man did have a knife. And it was quite sharp. If you had opened the door, neither you nor your boyfriend would have fared well. You have good safety awareness. Afterwards, I went to give a statement, with George sitting obediently by my side the whole time. While giving the statement, Leo the Immortal spoke. He and White the Immortal had done something to ensure only I could see and hear them. No one else noticed a thing. Lucas has dismemberment tools at home. And there's a house in the northern part of the city not under his name where the first two victims are frozen. Think of a way to tip off the police. Hearing this, my heart tightened, and my mind raced. I quickly spoke up, "Officer, I accidentally saw his shopping records before. It seems he bought tools for dismemberment, probably stored in his apartment at Cloud Ocean Building downtown. Could you check it out? He seems so experienced. I might not be his first victim." The officer immediately informed her colleagues to search and asked me, "Have you noticed anything else? We also suspect Lucas might be connected to the previous two missing persons cases." Leo the Immortal whispered advice to me, "Just say he was bragging to you about having properties in several places. Mention 3 locations." Following his suggestion, I told the policewoman about the 3 residences Lucas had mentioned to White the Immortal, adding, "Sister." He also told me that none of these properties are under his name. If I like them, he can transfer them to me anytime. Upon hearing this, the policewoman's expression turned serious. She quickly relayed the information I provided to the field team and then patted my shoulder. "Little girl, surviving a great disaster brings great fortune." On the way home, George held my hand tightly, murmuring beside me, "I've made up my mind. I'll go live streaming to earn money. Doing fortune-telling and matchmaking for people. I'm super accurate when it comes to love predictions. Whatever I say comes true. It's my old trade, totally reliable." I couldn't help but laugh at the thought. With a face like his, who would even care about getting their fortune told? Everyone would just be staring at his looks, right? George was completely oblivious to this, getting more and more excited as he spoke. With a poof, 2 fluffy fox ears popped up on top of his head, shocked. I quickly reached out to press them down. Leo the Immortal mocked him, "You can't even control your ears with such little self-restraint." George chuckled twice. "What do you, a man without a wife, understand?" Leo the Immortal smacked him across the face with a flick of his tail. The next evening, the police called to inform me that they had found a complete set of dismemberment tools in Lucas's home, along with the bodies of 2 previously missing individuals in his house in the North City high-tech district. Listening to this, I felt another wave of fear, suddenly realizing that my visit to Grandpa's grave the day before had been a spur-of-the-moment decision. That night, I dreamed of Grandpa, who said he saw the living residing in Thompson Riviera and felt envious, wanting the same. The granddaughter of the old man next door had even burned an iPhone 100 for him, and he wanted one too. That's why I went to the incense shop to buy it and made a special trip to burn it for Grandpa. The police also mentioned that Lucas actually came to my house yesterday, but since I wasn't there, he left. If I hadn't gone to visit my grandfather's grave, I might already be one of the missing persons by now. Thinking of this, I patted Leo the Immortal's head and asked, "Was it you who made my grandfather appear in my dream?" Leo the Immortal nodded reservedly, "Of course. The 3 of us often follow you, but unless you establish a direct connection with us, it's very difficult for us to truly save you. Of course, it's also because you're filial. Someone less filial wouldn't be saved even with 800 dreams." George stood nearby, basking in reflected glory. "Damn right, my wife is the best in the world." The White Immortal in my pocket rolled its eyes and poured cold water on him. "Cut the crap." She didn't agree to it. I pursed my lips and smiled. No wonder Grandpa never felt lonely being alone every day. These 3 immortals were simply too adorable. George was truly a man of action. He used my ID card and bank card to set up a live streaming account, saying he'd make money to buy me a Thompson Riviera apartment. On his first day of streaming, the viewership surpassed 10,000 within half an hour and continued to rise, breaking 100,000 after an hour, skyrocketing to trending topics and soaring on the hot search list. I stood by, dumbfounded by the data. What is this? Could this be the rising star of the 2023 entertainment industry? George was extremely excited, constantly turning to look at me. "Honey, I'll soon have enough money to buy you a house and a car." The barrage is filled with heartbreak. "What? The handsome guy is married. Help, how can such a good-looking man already be taken? If you're taken, Why are you still streaming? No male virtue, but just looking is enough to satisfy me, woo woo woo. George saw it at a glance and immediately spotted the one who lacks male virtue, declaring with righteous indignation, I'm here to live stream fortune telling, not to sell myself. You can't say I lack male virtue. The barrage of comments erupted in another wave of exclamations. Help! Why is he so serious, so adorable, anchor, help me calculate the fate between you and me. George didn't realize at all that the barrage was teasing him, maintaining a very unhappy expression. There's no fate between you and me, I only have fate with my wife. After saying this, he turned to look at me, instantly switching to a happy puppy expression. Right, honey? I couldn't answer him because I was already laughing uncontrollably. Lucas's verdict came quickly, death penalty, to be carried out immediately, but half a month later. Problems arose. Lucas was transferred from prison to a psychiatric hospital because the James family provided him with a schizophrenia diagnosis. When I saw the news, a chill ran down my spine, and soon after, I received a termination letter from the company. The James family is a renowned and prestigious clan in the local area, the wealthiest in the city. If they wanted to make my life unbearable, all it would take was one phone call. Not having a job wasn't the scariest part. The real terror was knowing Lucas wouldn't stay in the psychiatric hospital forever. After this news broke, I spent every day holed up at home and even insisted George stay with me. George could certainly handle Lucas, but the world was full of powerful people. What if someone could hurt George? I adamantly refused to let George and the Fox immortals White and Leo go after Lucas, all while trying to persuade them and preparing to move. But Lucas moved much faster than I expected. The very next day, just as I finished packing and was about to head to the airport, I saw Lucas's car parked outside my building. Lucas's two-tone Maybach was parked right below my rundown apartment building. The moment I spotted it from my balcony, the August sunlight instantly turned piercingly cold. George stood beside me and patted my shoulder. Don't be afraid. What you're worried about won't happen. The James family has done too many evil deeds. They're bound to self-destruct. It's about time they met their end. The words carried an air of poetic justice, though it was somewhat amusing to see the fox spirits Leo and White nodding in agreement beside me. That's right, heaven's way is fair. Don't worry, stay in the room. White will keep you company. George and I will go downstairs. With that, George and Leo opened the door. Lucas was standing outside the door, looking much more haggard than a few days ago, his eyes bloodshot. He glanced at me first, then looked at George beside me. When George's face turns cold, that cheerful puppy-like demeanor vanishes completely, leaving only a sharp, menacing aura. Yet, this menacing aura doesn't make me uncomfortable, while the energy emanating from Lucas once again triggers intense headaches and nausea in me. White Fairy stands on my shoulder, placing his tiny paw on my earlobe. You're sensitive to magnetic fields. His magnetic field is terrible, so it's normal for you to be affected. Lucas sneered coldly. I thought you were so high and mighty, yet here you are, eagerly letting a jobless man move into your place. Did you think you could escape? Let me tell you, trash like you, I could crush you with just a finger. As he finished speaking, two burly men stepped forward. Lucas pointed at me. Go on, take her to my villa in South Mount. As for that man, put him up for auction on the dark web. I want him to suffer so much he can't even die. This statement is utterly lawless and outrageously arrogant. George also sneered, and as those two burly men approached, he simply raised his hand and pushed outward. The two men, whose combined weight must have been around 400 pounds, were instantly pinned against the wall. George grinned without warmth. This immortal, this lord could crush you with just one hand. How dare you, a dead man walking, bark at me? Leo Sien gracefully rustled forward, his movements elegant to the extreme. With a sharp smack, his tail slapped Lucas across the face, his pair of jade-blue vertical pupils fixed on him, his tone icy and viscous. Go back and tell your elders. The debt your James family owes me from 300 years ago is time to repay. Lucas froze the moment he saw Leo Sien. After Leo Sien spoke, he was so terrified that he collapsed onto the ground, screaming in horror. Monster! There's a monster! Help! Help! The person across from me heard the noise and opened the door, startled. Damn, wasn't this lunatic already arrested? How did he get released again? Wendy, call the police quick. Letting something like this out is just asking for trouble. Isn't it? I snapped out of the awe-inspiring aura emanating from Leo Cien and George's tone and quickly nodded, dialing the police number. Lucas was taken away again. Before leaving, he kept pointing at me, repeatedly saying there were monsters. Monsters trying to kill him. With the previous incident as a lesson, the police thought he was just pulling the same old trick again. They dragged him away with visible irritation, even spitting heavily at him. 3 days later, Lucas didn't get out of jail, but 3 members of the James family showed up at my doorstep. Leading them was an old man with completely white hair and beard, followed by a man and a woman who appeared to be his son and daughter. I opened the door. With George standing beside me and Leo the fox spirit perched on my shoulder, the old man suddenly shrank back and hastily bowed to me with utmost respect. This old man has come to apologize on behalf of my unworthy descendant. He is young and reckless, which is why we never told him about the kindness you showed us in the past. Who could have imagined he would commit such a beastly act? Leo the immortal flicked his tongue with a hiss. His sapphire blue vertical pupils filled with coldness and mockery. His voice was hoarse and icy. 300 years ago, when your James family's ancestor was on the verge of death, he came begging to my cave. Seeing his pitiful state and recognizing the great fortune and virtue he carried, I lent him a hand. The condition was that if your descendants ceased to do good and accumulate merit, I would personally ensure the James family returned every benefit they had gained over the years. Lucas's grandfather bent his waist even lower, his tone bitter. Immortal One, we have already sent Lucas to prison. He will never be released in this lifetime, and he will face the punishment he deserves. Could you perhaps show mercy? George let out a derisive laugh. You James family sure know how to sweet talk. If Lucas hadn't messed with my wife, would you have apologized? Would you have made him face justice? Lucas's grandfather quickly turned to apologize to me, but after a few words, he suddenly realized my surname was Smith. You're Charles Smith's granddaughter. Charles Smith was my grandfather, but in my memory, he was just an ordinary old man who ran a spiritual practice, no different from the other village shamans and mediums. Just by looking at Lucas's grandfather's reaction, my grandfather's identity must be quite extraordinary. George didn't let him ask further and interrupted directly. Go back, your James family is beyond redemption. As he spoke these words, a flash of gold flickered in his eyes. Seeing this, Lucas's grandfather was so shaken that he could barely stand, hastily leaving with his 2 children in tow. After everyone had left, White Fairy held the sunflower seeds in his hand. He definitely won't let it go. He's going up the mountain tonight to invite someone to exorcise the demons. What should we do? George pulled me to sit on the sofa, looking completely unconcerned. You said it's about exorcising demons. Neither of us are demons, so what does it matter? Leo Cien nodded. Right, we're not demons. George is the crown prince of the Fox clan, and I've already transformed into a dragon. With the virtue you possess, who would dare lay a hand on you? Wait, what prince? What dragon transformation? What are you talking about? Seeing my pupils quake with shock, George became very awkward. Don't worry, our Fox clan doesn't have the habit of keeping multiple wives, even though I'm the crown prince now, and even if I become the clan leader in the future, there will only be you. I swear to the heavens. I pressed down his 3 fingers, my eyes gleaming as I looked at immortal Leo. No, that's not the point. A dragon? I've never seen a dragon before. Can you show me? Immortal Leo refused. No, the house will collapse. I let out an oh and slumped my waist. As George leaned in again, my true form is quite handsome too, with glossy fur, very large, warm in winter and supports 16-degree air conditioning. Dear, really don't you want to take a look? I thought about it seriously, then refused George. No, shedding fur. George was heartbroken, while Leo the Immortal and White the Immortal looked on with schadenfreude. Sure enough, 3 days later, 2 mystic masters came knocking. It was a stormy night of thunder and rain when George revealed his true form and lured the 2 mystic masters to the outskirts, on a mountain overgrown with wild grass. A white 9-tailed fox twice the size of an Alaskan stood before 2 mystics, alongside a 4-legged, horned Leo Immortal and a white Immortal munching on melon seeds with a crunch crunch. These 2 mystics appeared to be venerable figures within their sect, with considerable cultivation. But upon seeing George and the Leo Immortal, they immediately dropped their ritual tools, bowed deeply to the ground. and pleaded in trembling voices, "And no, we didn't know it was your excellencies carrying out divine justice. We were reckless and begged for your excellencies' mercy to let us return to the mountains. We swear never to enter the mortal world again in this lifetime." The horns on Liu Xian's head glistened under the lightning, his vertical pupils revealing a trace of ruthless indifference. "You too have aided the wicked and are unworthy of cultivation." As soon as the words fell, thunder abruptly descended, directly shattering the golden cores the two mystics had painstakingly cultivated, leaving them with no chance to practice again in this lifetime. After completing this, George pulled me along as Liu Xian commanded, "I want to eat beggar's chicken. Take me to buy some." In the end, they bought a big bag of melon seeds and 6 beggar's chickens, returning home as happily as if they'd gone on a shopping spree. When the James family learned that the mystic they had hired had his cultivation destroyed in a single encounter, the old man fainted on the spot, his vision going dark. The next day, the James family was hit with countless scandals, forcing workers to their deaths, unpaid construction fees, hiring assassins, and the old man fathering an illegitimate daughter at 70. Incidents like these kept surfacing one after another, causing the stock price of the James family to plummet, and their newly opened real estate projects were directly vandalized. That very afternoon, all the senior executives of the James family were taken away for investigation. The James family collapsed overnight, with no possibility of recovery. When I saw the news, I was curled up in George's arms. I raised my phone and asked him, "How did this sudden scandal happen?" George answered while knitting a scarf for me, "Oh, this, I just gave it a little push, then had Leo the Immortal revoke his protection over the James family. Plus, for all these years, the James family has been living beyond their means. It was only a matter of time before everything blew up, and Lucas coming to you wasn't an accident. It was the heavens guiding the James family to their own destruction." I murmured in response, then saw the news announcing the execution date for Lucas. The James family's downfall meant no one could issue a psychiatric certificate to protect him anymore. George finally finished knitting the scarf in his hands, excitedly wrapped it around me, then took my phone and proceeded to shower me with puppy-like kisses. Overwhelmed by the disturbance, I could only desperately cast pleading glances at White the fox spirit for help. Its beady hedgehog-like eyes darted around before it suddenly flopped onto the bed and pretended to be asleep with a plop. "I really can't thank you enough." George finally had his fill of kisses, his tail popping out and wagging wildly behind him as he hugged me with a silly grin. "In just 6 months, I'll be able to afford the house you want. Then we'll get married and have a little fox cub." Trapped in his embrace, I could only helplessly protest, "I don't want to. I'm afraid of the pain and my body getting hurt." White Fairy immediately perked up. "Don't worry, George can bear all the pain you might feel during pregnancy. Besides having a bigger belly, you won't experience any discomfort. Even the feeling of your belly being heavy can be transferred to George. Plus, with me here, your body won't suffer any damage. George can even use his yang energy to nourish you, making you live longer, stay younger, and have a healthier body." George nodded repeatedly beside me. Exactly. I'm not like those useless human men. I'm strong and treat my wife very well." Hearing this, my heart instantly skipped a beat. A beautiful daughter without any pain, who wouldn't be tempted. The next second, I pulled George's head down, and White Fairy once again thudded onto the table, playing dead. Leo Fairy, who had just been about to enter with an apple in his mouth, put down the apple, picked up White Fairy instead, and left speechless. Later, I pressed Leo Fairy about who my grandfather really was. After some thought, Leo Fairy simply had my grandfather come and explain it to me himself. That night, after I fell asleep, my grandfather sat in the rocking chair from our old countryside yard, waving at me. I walked over and sat beside him as he slowly told me a story. Over 1,000 years ago, my family produced an extraordinarily talented mystic. Before his death, the mystic left behind a message. Along with the origins of Leo the Immortal and our connection, several centuries earlier, my ancestors rescued Leo the Immortal, who was on the brink of death after surviving a heavenly tribulation, and nursed him back to health at home. After recovering, Leo departed, and by the time he emerged from seclusion again, he had become my mystic ancestor. Our descendants were not destined to become mystics, but they inherited the path of the spirit medium. Our family is the most powerful spirit medium lineage in the entire mystic world. Even the most formidable figures in the mystic realm must show utmost respect when meeting my grandfather, but my grandfather was the last generation, because the fox spirit Leo had already transformed into a dragon, and the fox spirit White had also achieved spiritual fulfillment. As for George, he never needed to cultivate by becoming a spirit guide in the first place, he only did so to find me. This brings us to the story of how George and I became connected. The first time George took human form and entered the mortal world, he fell in love with me at first sight. At that time, I was the daughter of a wealthy merchant. We met and fell in love, but unfortunately, my health was poor, and I died young, passing away before I even turned 25. The Fox clan's love runs deep. From that moment on, he had been waiting for me, waiting for my reincarnation. To continue our past connection, after finishing his story, Grandpa patted me with a smile. All the merits George has accumulated over the years as an immortal have been saved for you, intending to secure a position for you in the underworld. He plans to become a ghost king himself, so you both won't have to suffer the cycle of rebirth anymore. After Grandpa said these words, I woke up to find George holding me tightly, his head buried in the crook of my shoulder as we slept together. I woke up and he woke up too, groggily opening his eyes, leaning in to give me a kiss. Mumbling as he asked, should we have braised pork for dinner? I bought a piece of 5-layered pork this morning to repay your kindness. I chuckled, reaching out to hug him, and said, let's have a little fox cub, a daughter. Extra Chapter 1, Having a baby. During my pregnancy, I didn't experience any discomfort at all. It was George who suffered daily, either from morning sickness or emotional breakdowns. He would cling to me, sobbing, woo-woo. Worried that I'd stop loving him once our daughter was born. So the greatest challenge of my pregnancy was comforting the anxious George. I'm seriously speechless, because I couldn't feel any pain. I didn't realize what was happening when George furrowed his brows, picked me up, and drove me to the hospital. It wasn't until my water broke and I lay on the bed that I finally understood. I was going into labor. George stayed by my side inside. While the white immortal silently possessed the lead surgeon, winking at me, George sat in a chair, crying, boo-hoo-hoo, from the pain, tears and snot streaming down his face as he sobbed and said, good thing I'm not human, woo-woo, if I were, I definitely wouldn't let my wife give birth, woo-woo-woo. Although the nurses and doctors found his words strange, they still cast envious glances at me. As for me, I was holding a bowl of sour and spicy rice noodles, devouring them with my head down. Just so I could give birth faster later, perhaps because White Immortal was present, my delivery went incredibly smoothly. The baby's head emerged in less than an hour, a human child, but with white hair. The doctors and nurses were shocked, thinking it might be albinism. After multiple examinations revealed no issues, George finally admitted that he was born with white hair and had dyed it black later. This debunked the hospital's long-standing mystery. During pregnancy, I ate 6 meals a day but didn't gain any weight. It wasn't until after the postpartum period, when I saw George hauling in a treadmill and running 5 hours a day, that I finally understood why. The extra weight must have all gone to him. Regarding this, I solemnly swear to George, I'll definitely eat less from now on. George's workout time is painfully extended by 2 hours. Extra Chapter 2, The Forget Bridge. I don't know what method George used, but by the time I was 40, I noticed he was aging in sync with me. For every wrinkle I grew, he grew the same number. This continued until I passed away peacefully at the age of 102, by which time George had also become a white-haired old man. I lay on the bed as he held my hand, leaned down, and kissed my forehead. Don't be afraid, I'll never be apart from you. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.